All right, hey guys, Eric here from TOURNA-MIX. Hope everyone's doing good today. I'm here with my buddy Michael Leto, and we're going to do a little chat with him today. Michael's kind of become a bit of a famous dude at TOURNA-MIX as of late, thanks to the fact that he's provided us with what 10, maybe 15 of our songs for our
Something
mix,
like that.
something like that. A lot of tunes. So
There's more
he's
coming
been
too.
there's more coming. There's more coming.
Okay.
So I thought I'd do a little chat with him today, just sort of a informal interview, get to know him a bit, and yeah, so that's what we're here for. And specifically, we're going to talk about his production of a song called "Friends," right, by
Yes.
Crystal Bozarth.
Yes.
Cool. So this is the feature song at TOURNA-MIX this month. And by the way, if you don't know what TOURNA-MIX is, if you're watching this and you're not a member, we're a mix contest site. So if you like that kind of thing, check out the link below. We got link to the site. It'll explain everything there. A lot of fun. We're having fun. I'm having fun. I'm not even in the contest and I'm having fun. So anyway, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
This is the first episode.
Yes.
Maybe only. I don't know. I don't so yeah, thanks for being here. And on behalf of TOURNA-MIX, thank you for all the tunes. It's all been a lot of fun.
Of
It's
course.
great tunes. And we're going to talk about Friends today. So before we get to that, and we will listen to your mix in just a bit. Let's just get to know you a bit. You're in LA.
Yes, sir. I've got a
Producing.
studio in Glendale.
Okay.
Been here for about 3 months now. Just moved out of my parents' house
Oh,
and
nice.
garage. So yeah.
Oh, you were doing the garage thing for a while.
Yes, I was in the garage.
Look
Uh,
at you now in your fancy room.
yeah, it's nice and expensive.
Yeah,
So
I bet. I bet.
it's definitely been worth it though.
It looks great. Yeah, like let's talk about your setup. It looks like a pretty big room there. You got some treatment going. What are you using for speakers these days?
So I've got two Barefoot Footprint O1s.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
barefoots. Love it.
love
And
it.
what did you have before? You just got those or
So I've been mixing on them for a while, but I haven't owned them.
okay.
But now they're mine. I was using just the classic Yamaha HS8s
Oh, the
before.
HS8s.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the
Sort of
in the
like the
garage. Yeah,
NS10 remake kind of thing,
yeah,
sort of.
something, but with high
Okay.
and low end. I don't know, but
Gotcha. So that's
they
a
sound
pretty
good.
big the O1s. I've never used them. I've heard the bigger versions, but barefoots, I mean, we don't need to they
It's
don't need any introduction.
Yeah, no, they're
That's
legends.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's very cool. And and yeah, I see you've got some treatment on the walls. And do you
yes,
use
sir.
SonarWorks
I
in your
do.
studio?
I
You do?
actually just Sonar works my room again,
Okay.
maybe a couple hours ago because I raised my stands up like half an
Right.
inch.
Right.
Because
You got to go through all that crap again with
yeah, and then I've got more treatment from GIK coming to treat
okay.
the corners and get a more solid bass trapping situation in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some GIK stuff as well, and I use SonarWorks. It's a friggin' lifesaver. I wouldn't be able to work professionally without it. So that's pretty cool. Even in a room your size, which is probably about 2.5 or 3 times as big as mine, I have a little shoebox of a room. I'm glad to. It's interesting to hear that are still need SonarWorks, even with the treatment and the.
Well, it'll be cool to see how much treatment I need when
Right.
like after the GIK stuff comes in.
Right. Maybe your SonarWorks won't be as key then. But anyway, I think it's a fantastic product. So that's pretty cool. And so you said you just moved out of your parents' house a few years ago. So you have only been
Few
mixing for a
months
couple of
ago.
years? A few months ago.
Few
Okay.
months ago. Yeah, I was down in San Diego. I graduated in 2020 from college, so
So
I
you're kind of new to this in a way, but it doesn't sound like you are. That's what I find interesting.
it's a good thing.
Well, I mean, it's so you've literally been mixing for like 2 years.
Been mixing like seriously for about 2 years, and then
Okay.
I got Pro Tools. I got Pro Tools in 2018. Kind of dabbled. Was really into the virtual instruments, and then started like doing my own music, making my own projects, whatever. And then like 2019 to about now, I've been mixing seriously.
Like
So
a lot. Yeah.
like a lot, like every day.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, like anything, be it guitar, mixing, hockey, if you do it every day and you're super into it, you can make big strides.
Oh yeah.
But that's interesting. I would have thought you've been at it for at least 5 years. So that's cool. Um and you also are an instrumentalist and a songwriter, as
Yes.
far as I know. So you play drums and keys mostly.
Drums, keys, yeah, a lot of like
Mhm.
Hammond action.
Okay.
But definitely the main instrument is drums.
Drums. That's so cool. As a producer, that's a big one. I don't play drums,
Mm,
and I've always felt that if I did, it would when I do produce, mostly I mix, but if when I do produce, it's like even if you're programming beats
right.
and it's not like a real kit, because I can program beats, but I'm not a drummer. So I always kind of question like, oh, is that pattern right? So
Yeah,
I think that's a big one for producers.
it definitely is, and I mean I wish I played guitar, but I'm very happy that I play
Yeah.
drums. It just is,
Drums and keys is a big one.
yeah.
Very, very Greg Wells of you.
Icon.
He actually does play guitar and bass though too. So
Yeah, yeah.
and he plays everything. Cool. So do you mix in the box,
Uh,
hardware, or both?
I use a hybrid mix setup, so I'll do a lot of in the box processing
Mhm.
on the buses and stems, what have you. Uh, but I'm summing, so
Okay.
I've got a 16 channel Cappy Audio sum bus. Uh,
Oh, neat.
Cappy is like a boutique brand built by a guy who used to work for API and then left, and now he was like one of their like 70s style console like mechanics. So the dude
Okay.
knows the things inside and out. So
Right.
I've
Yeah,
got
I've
one of
heard.
those. Mm.
I know them because of their VP28s mostly.
Oh,
You hear people talking about those preamps a lot. I don't own them. A close friend does, but you actually have one of their summing mixers. That's pretty
yes. So I got the summing mixer, which has an incredible amount of transformers in it, which is why I
right.
bought this one. And then I'm actually going into two VP28 Platinums for
Oh,
makeup gain, which is
okay.
nice because those are stepped. And then I have two different compressors. One is the Dramastic Audio Obsidian, the 500 series, which I got about a week ago, and
Right. You texted me about
love
that.
it.
I remember
Yes,
that. Nice.
I absolutely love it. And then my other compressor is a very new from Tegler. It's called the Schwerkraft Maschine.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the remote controlled one.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
And
Heavenly
so
Money Machine in German.
and do you nice. Do you mix into them then? Like do you have them on for the whole mix? And how does that work with recalls? Like is it a
Right.
pain in the butt if there's recalls or
So the only now that I've added the Obsidian and then before the recall, it's out of the compressors into two Neve 542 tape emulators,
oh neat.
and then into a Heritage Audio Symphony Q.
Oh, so you have a fairly long or
One,
extensive audio analog chain.
five, yeah, like five
Oh,
pieces.
that's neat. I didn't know. I knew you had an outboard compressor that you liked, and I know that you just got the Obsidian, which
Right.
by the way is basically an SSL G, but like
It's
it's
like
a
a
G
G bus on steroids.
on, on steroids.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you had some outboard like tape simulators. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, dude, the 5.4, so with the recall, that's actually the most interesting piece of the recall because I do not change the settings of the 5.42s
Right.
because they do not have any stepped parameters.
Sure.
Um, so those everything lives at 50% on the
Just so it's easy to remember.
so it's easy, don't touch it, call it a day. But with everything else, I just kind of write it in,
Yeah.
in Pro Tools they have like a little comment section, which
Sure.
Logic doesn't have. But the
Logic's the
little
best,
comment
dude.
section. So I just write
That's super interesting. I'm glad I asked that. I again I knew you had a compressor, but I have no hardware.
mm,
I would like some. I will get some eventually, but
boy. Let's
I'll
go.
I'll catch up to you one day. All right, cool. So that's super neat that you use hardware. When it comes to mixing though, and plugins,
Mm.
like I know it's an age old question, but it never gets old for me. What are your like your desert island, top five or kind of plugins you just absolutely love?
Sure. Um, it's got to be the Fab Filter Pro Q3 is a
It's
staple.
just unbeatable.
It's
Yeah,
my default
of course.
EQ, so I love it. And then I love the API channel strip from UAD.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yep.
Lives on vocals. I love it. It is so helpful.
That's awesome.
Um, Another one of my favorites is the MJ something
Oh, MJUC.
Clang Klanghelm.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Clang Helm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
on bass, on vocals, acoustic guitar.
Right. Yeah, it's a thick sort of really gooey kind of compressor. You really
Wonderful.
it's colored, eh? Like it gives you something.
It is, yeah, it's like an emulation of three different tube tube compressors, so it's just
Right. I do actually own it. I just haven't used it. It's got the MK1, 2, and 3. I think it's like a Fairchild and then some obscure 1176 kind of thing.
the
I
maybe
can't
it's like the 1175 or
five.
the
Yeah, right.
175. Yeah.
It's a neat one. I did I used it a lot, and I think I was joking with you the other day. You just end up getting so many tools that a
Mm.
perfectly great tool like that one somehow fell off my radar, but maybe I'll bring it back. Cool. What else?
The 1176 is an easy one, but
Sure.
oh, there was another one. I love the Oxford stuff. So the Oxford
Oh, okay.
inflator,
The
the Oxford,
Sonox.
yes, the Oxford limiter.
Okay.
Inflator's great. I love the limiter on drums.
So inflator's a neat one. That's like a crowd favorite. A lot of people love it. I never found my stride with it because I could never hear what it was doing. I started doing blind tests with it where I print the mix with it and without it, and I couldn't hear the difference. But what I do like is that, of course, you can get a louder mix kind of transparently. Is
Yes.
that sort of why you like that one, or do you find it has a sound?
I it's it has a sound. I still don't really know what it is,
I,
and
I can't hear it.
I don't
Yeah.
think anyone knows what it is.
I read the manual and I felt more confused than if I hadn't. Like I didn't understand a word of the manual.
It
But
is very
what I
unique.
gathered was that it just kind of gives you this RMS squeeze
It's
without
like
hearing the
harmonic.
squeeze.
It's
Yeah,
like harmonic
yeah,
distortion in varying shades.
right,
But
right.
the limiter is great because it has not only has like the enhance feature, which is the inflator circuit, but it has the limiter has like a threshold like you can bring down, so I don't have to gain
Okay,
something up into it, which
okay,
for some reason I just was unable to find elsewhere.
okay.
Probably my own ignorance, but I love that thing on the drum bus.
Nice. So would you say that in a mix, like generally speaking, the plugins you just named are your 80% of your mix would come down to using those kind of tools?
I don't know about 80% of the mix. The API channel for sure,
Your
and
big one.
the Pro Q3,
Mhm.
of course. But it kind of just is more like tools for the job.
Sure,
But
sure.
when I do need to do something that requires those kind of things, those are the tools I lean
Those are
towards.
your main things.
Yeah.
Sure. What
So
about
you will find those on every mix in
sure.
some regard.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think everyone ultimately ends up with Pro Q3 and then one other thing that I mean, it's just so good, right? Like
I
it's
was
such a
a
killer.
I was a Fab Filter hater for a little bit, just because
What?
I didn't want to like bandwagon, but then
Okay.
I jumped on the bandwagon and now I
Oh, well, once you
can't
jump on,
get
you're
off.
like, where was I before?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of not true. You can use any plugin. There's tons of good, great plugins, but it's just a cool one.
It's just so easy. It has
Yeah,
everything that
yeah.
you could need. Yeah.
And what about production tools? I love the way you build up your songs. Your drum arrangements are super cool. Your synth work is great. I That's one weakness of mine, so maybe that's why I feel you're so good at it. But what would you say like when you're making your tunes for your artists? What are those plugins for production? Whether it's a VST or whatever that you're just like, holy crap, I couldn't live without this.
VST wise, the the Spectrasonic stuff is fantastic.
Oh, okay, right. Yep.
Specifically Keyscape.
I
It's
was gonna say there's a keyboard
yeah.
section, right?
That one is I mean the stuff sounds just as good if not better than some pianos that I've
Sure.
recorded or been in the process of recording.
Okay.
That's a big one. I'm a big fan of any kind of weird distortion y- like effect tool. So two of my favorites right now are Brower Motion from Waves, which I
From Waves.
love. Yeah, from
Okay.
Waves. I love Waves' effect stuff. They're
Neat.
yeah, they've got that down. And Bite Harder from Dennis. I'm not sure. I
I
think
never heard of that
it's
one.
Denise. Yeah, it came out very recently. It is
Okay.
super weird, like
And
weird.
I- I'll have to check that out. I've heard of the first thing you mentioned, the keyscape, probably from you. But and what about your drums? How do you build up your drums? Like do you use loops from like Splice, or do you just do it all by hand with MIDI? Like how do you do that?
It depends on the style. But for Friends example, I just
Yep.
played drums. Um,
Right,
no,
that was real kit.
right.
Right.
So I use a real kit. But for 80s or other like pop kind of stuff, I've got a plethora of samples.
Right.
Some from
Right.
Splice, of course, but some from like just older kits that
Yep.
I've downloaded, just from Reddit or something.
Right,
Those
right.
things.
And you just play in the MIDI, and or do you use a sequencer
I
or?
use the Logic sampler, and I will
Okay,
just assign, and then I'll like finger drum it out,
all
just because
right.
it is easier than drag and drop.
Of course, that's where I wish I was a drummer. I mean, I can finger beat a little bit because anyone can, but I again, I always feel like if I was a drummer, I would do this better. That's why I always have to hire out drums.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's actually listen to your mix of Friends. Why don't we do that? Because a lot of people watching this are members, and they're mixing it right now.
Right.
But for anyone who's not a member, they might want to hear it. So let's take a listen. Cool. All right.
I guess we're not friends anymore. Too bad, so sad. Or did you need a more convincing line? Is this even worth any of my time? Feels bad, bro. Anyways. Cause you come up with all these things I can't remember. Like how I yelled at you sometime back in September over some shit, or you stupid at clip. What a ridiculously funny lie. And I can't remember asking if I cared, if you left or if you stayed. And I can't remember asking if I cared, if you liked me anyways. Cause you never treated me right, never were by my side. I don't give up. Oh, and I can't believe you lied about the times when we were friends, or when we were friends.
All right, cool. So that was Michael Leto's final mix of Friends, which is out now, or is it been released?
If this comes out by October 22nd, then yes, it is out.
Okay. All right. So I think it's the 15th today. So I guess it's not out yet. And so, yeah, you produced, co-wrote, or did you fully write it?
Co-wrote.
Co-wrote,
Me and Crystal wrote
produced,
it together. Yes.
mixed, and you had someone master it in LA for you?
Yes, Lucas Pimentel.
Okay. And he's sort of a bigger player in the scene, or
Yeah, he's masters for a lot of people.
yeah, that's
Dude's,
awesome.
dude's a legend. Yeah.
So you gave it the royal treatment. That's great. So let's talk about the production.
Yeah.
So you co-wrote the song. Once the song was done, I mean, you can talk about that if you want, the writing, but like I was sort of thinking you could just run us through the production. Like, did
Yeah.
you have a very clear idea from the get-go where you're going with it, or did it just sort of, I don't know, how did you do it?
Well, I mean, the writing process itself was super easy because Crystal came with like the idea of a chorus and like a first verse, and it's about someone that we both know. So we
Okay.
we
Right.
we had like, and we didn't have to think of a story. We just kind of,
Right. Okay.
but
Real world.
yeah, real world, which is super important, right? Right, what you know. But from there, it was just like the production kind of came together pretty easily because the the way that Crystal was, playing on the acoustic guitar on the demo, um, and that we were just kind of playing together when we wrote it was like the groove, the groove of the lyrics and the chords kind of invite, that kind of like laid back,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
that
Yeah.
super laid back style. So like from there, from the writing process, we did like a scratch demo with a piano track or whatever. I went in, I laid down some drums in a room kind of like this, um, really basic setup, no room
Mhm.
mics or anything, and just went from there. And then
Nice.
got the drums down. Had my friend Chris Casriel play bass, and he's also playing electric.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
so that's great. I know there are 3 bass tracks, and that's because we used.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that. I didn't understand. What was the third track?
So there's a DI track, of course.
Yep.
There's a Neumann penciled condenser on an Ampeg amp, and then
Oh,
there's
okay.
a sub kick, like what you'd put in front of a kick drum on the amp as well.
Oh, so it's two mics in the app.
2 mics on the amp
Okay.
and DI, and it's all going through like we used my old college's studio for this, so it's like running through an API console and like a
Oh,
plethora
cool.
of wonderful outboard gear.
Right, right. I actually, it's interesting. A lot of pop songs have programmed drums, of course, these
Right.
days. Not all of them, but it's, I would say more probably are synthy sounding than real.
Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You're the pop guy, but this one worked really well with real drums. Now I know you use samples in your mix, and they sound great. I didn't because I loved your I loved your drums. They had a cool, I don't want to say lo-fi, but just, well, kind of lo-fi
You
vibe
can
about
say
them. Like,
lo-fi because Crystal loves lo-fi, so
okay,
that
okay.
is the vibe.
Well, because you also blended in some beatbox stuff that was,
Yes.
of course, sampled or whatever,
Yes.
and it blended in nicely. But yeah, I love the raw drums. Did you, because they were raw drums and it was a pop song, did you quantize them, like, or did
Yes.
you? Okay,
So I mean, I'm all right at playing drums,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I'm not like precision perfect. So I did do a little bit of elastic audio, and then
Well,
from
even
there,
the top LA session drummers probably aren't. I mean, you can't sound like a pop drum.
right. I mean, you still need some feel in there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, but so you did quantize it. That makes sense though, because then you have like a firm platform to kind of
right,
build
and you
build
can't
on.
add in like a shaker, a tambourine loop, or something because I don't want to record myself playing tambourine. That sucks. So I I
Degrading.
use Splice,
It's,
right? Like
yeah,
anyone with a,
sure.
a brain. But
Right.
I mean, it's hard to throw in a tambourine loop on top of someone who's not playing on time.
Even if it's 97% on it, it can sound weird.
Well,
Yeah.
even so, I think I quantized myself to like 90%.
Okay. Oh, so it wasn't hard quantized.
Right, and even with like a little bit of swing, I usually don't hard quantize because then
Right.
what's the point of doing the live
Right.
drums?
Right.
Um, but like that's close enough to make it sound all right.
We make it sound pretty much on the grid. Yeah. Very cool. So you did the bass, and now I know the mystery of the third bass track.
Yeah,
I literally just did not. I was just put them all in my mix. And I was like, oh, sounds
yeah,
good.
I use all
But
three. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
just never.
it worked. I was like,
Usually,
all right.
usually if it's three bass tracks, like the third one's like a distortion track or something. I've never seen that before, but anyway,
Well, it
cool.
was like I think I didn't want it like to sound distorted, so all I did was just push like 1.5 and like 900 on the Neumann pencil mic, and
Oh, okay. On the way in, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
on the way in, yeah,
Very cool. And so you say you don't play guitar, or
correct.
bass. So when you work with these buddies of yours or session players or whatever they are, do you kind of let them do their thing? Because I've had experiences where you work with people who are exceptionally good at their instrument, and it's almost better just to be like, here's the song, you do it. Like, or do you get in there like, I got ideas, here's what I want you to play? Like, how do you approach that?
It's a bit of back and forth with the bass. I with the bass and the electric guitar, it was a little more like I had a really like firm idea of what I wanted in mind, especially
Okay.
because those two instruments are so foundational, right? But like me and Chris, the electric player, or I mean, we're in the room together, so like we were just kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, and like there's the only really crazy parts in for the electric stuff in the song, or the bridge and like last chorus with like all these hits in it,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
that's the only part that we kind of just threw out like any kind of ideas and just started like he has the tone on the
Yep. Yep.
with the distorted vocals and everything.
Yep.
It is a guitar pedal, playing that line, and it's called the Julia, and it's on 100% everything, and it's like a chorus vibrato kind of thing. So it sounds so stupid, but together it
Right.
sounds so sick.
Yeah, no, that part was cool. It kind of reminded me of like, I don't know, I want to say Weezer or like, I don't know, just sort of grungy. It's
Cool.
cool. It's
Yeah,
just cool.
it's just like
Yeah.
it was like we heard that and we're like, dang, might as well use it.
No,
And
it's
but
super
for
fun.
the acoustic player, it's a guy named Ethan Rounds, and I mean, I'm buddies with all these guys, but Ethan's fantastic, and we were tracking acoustic for another song. When the session was done, I was showing him friends, and he was like, "Dude, let me play some stuff." And he was just like kind of messing around in the back, and I was like,
Okay.
"That sounds great. Here we
Yeah.
go." And
Yeah.
it totally changed the song.
I'm really glad that that happened because the acoustic is, we were talking about this a week or two ago. It's really cool. The acoustic parts are so cool, even though it's not like the main, by any means, the main instrument in the track. The little, it's ear candy, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. Very cool
There's
playing.
like I've never had a song with an acoustic guitar solo before, so that was fun for me and Ethan.
Yeah. No,
He used to be an electric solo, but we were just like, nah.
It almost gave some island vibes or something.
Yeah.
Like the playing is very, I don't know, it's light and fun. It really suited the song. I
Quirky.
thought yeah,
It,
it's quirky. Yeah.
there's a lot of quirky things in this song because like the TOURNA-MIX members know because they have the stems, but like there's some stuff in there that you can't really hear audibly. Like there's a crowd chanting "fight, fight, fight." Um,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
that harp thing. There's the ding
The
in the
ding is
second
definitely quirky.
right after the strings come in. Yeah, it's just like
And the
fun
strings,
stuff.
speaking of quirky and cool ear candy, the strings are super neat, very neat. It's one of those things where they come in, I don't know, halfway through. So
Mhm.
it's like it's the classic, you have the first bit of the song and then some strings come in.
It's like
But they're not like a pad, like
right.
Imagine, they're more like this Baroque little kind
Yes,
of thing.
they're
So
like
did
Eleanor
you
Rigby type.
exactly, yeah. Did
Yeah,
you score it out? Like how did that come? Because they're real strings, right?
they are. They're
Yeah.
played by my friend DJ Brennan, and I had the riff in my mind, like the bum 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 bum
Mhm.
bum 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 bum, and then I just had him play it out, figure
Yeah.
out the harmonies, and then we
Right.
did like a couple passes on the chorus for like chord stuff,
Right.
and I had him
And,
play a
and
little solo at the end, and that was it.
I'm yeah, the solo's cool. Yeah, and I imagine because you're a keys player and you studied music theory presumably because you went
Yes.
to school, so you can kind of with a string player sit down at the piano and
Oh
even
yeah.
on the fly. So yeah, sorry about this, folks. We had a little bit of a technical glitch there. We're not exactly sure what we were talking about. We were talking about strings, doing it on the fly.
Yes.
But anyway, it's a very cool part. I think like when it's the kind of thing where I think I told you this before. The acoustic guitar and the strings, if you didn't have those in the song, it would still be a great arrangement and a great song.
Mm.
Like because they're not core parts, but
Right.
they really add to it. And from a mixing standpoint, it makes for like a much more fun mix.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah, I love it. I actually listened to the strings and solo for quite some time, and it was sort of sad. It was quite sad when I had to put them in the mix, and then they get kind of buried.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. But very very cool stuff. So we talked about the strings and the bass. What about the synth? Because synth is kind of one of your main instruments or keys. This wasn't as synth driven a song as some of your stuff, but you still added some cool stuff in there. Was that using like the stuff you mentioned earlier from
Yeah.
Spectrasonics or?
The piano is Spectrasonics. The
Yep.
organ is IK Multimedia's organ,
Okay.
which is
I
fantastic.
just got that. I got that crazy deal today. That
Big.
25 group buy. Amazing. I can't wait to try it.
Yeah, the organ is
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, that's one of the main reasons I did this whole thing. Yeah, so you layered that stuff in, and and that was pretty much it other than the vocals.
Yeah.
And of course she's a great singer, which is always
Fantastic.
awesome.
Good chunk.
What mic are you? What's your chain like these days for
So
vocals?
sure, yeah. I'm using a Warm Audio 47, which is a replica
Yep.
of the U47, and it's been modded by Signal Art Electronics.
Oh,
They
cool,
just
cool.
replaced the tube, switched out like a lot of the electronic components, just kind of opened it up. Sounds great. And then
Yeah.
going into a Cappy VP26 preamp,
Okay.
into the really nice leveling amp from FMR Audio, and
Oh
then
yes, that's like the cheapest compressor
yeah,
ever made, but still somehow
and
is
it
good.
is so unbelievably good.
That's
I
awesome. I
can't-
never.
I had to go do some sessions for like a client at some point, so as like a different studio, and I brought the compressor with me.
You brought the $200 compressor with you.
Yes,
I love
and
it.
it sounded so good. Just
That's
like you can do like 10 dB of gain reduction on a vocal.
right.
You can't really tell.
And I've heard that one is actually sort of colored in a cool way because they make another one that's just a really nice compressor, I think. And
Yeah.
that you have the really nice leveling amplifier, I think it is,
Yes.
or
The
okay.
RNLA.
Yeah, I've heard it's a little more vibey than the other one, and I've heard it's great.
It
So
sounds like sticky.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've read. That's what I've read about it. That's super neat though, that you're doing this basically full time, professionally. I know for a fact you've bought other pieces of gear that are pretty expensive, and yet you're still like, no, I'm just going to use this $200 compressor. It's awesome.
Well, I mean, and then it's going into the IGS, like LA2A 500 series.
Okay.
But
Yep.
I mean, that one's only doing a little bit. Most of the
Right.
heavy work is being done by the $200 compressor.
That's pretty awesome. There you go.
It is a fantastic compressor.
So for anyone watching who's, doing production on their own at home, wants to get into the game, there you go. That might be something to try out. And you can get them for like $100 on,
Yeah.
like, well, in Ottawa, it's called Kijiji. I don't know if they have that in the States.
Nope. I don't know what that is. That sounds like a food.
don't know. It's
Street
just
food. Yeah.
weird Canadian stuff.
Gajiki.
Um,
Okay.
Kijiji. Maybe it's Craigslist down there. I don't know what.
Yeah, we got Craigslist. So
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, that's interesting. So basically, like, the mic that's a popular mic, the Warm Audio 47. I've never used it. I've only heard good things about it, and I've actually checked out that mod that you got, and it actually looks like if you own a Warm Audio 47, let's say you've had it for a couple of years, you only spent what, $800 on it, probably new.
yeah, I think I even have like the demo version, so it's like 7 something.
But at any time, for those of you watching, you could probably get that mod. And I remember thinking because we've heard vocals from you before and after, and I thought there was a big difference. So that might be similar. Yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, had another little glitch there, folks. I hope this sounds continuous, but I just wanted to ask Michael about a couple more things about vocals, because I'm a singer, or at least I try to be, and there's nothing more daunting than vocal recording day set. It's so, I find studio singing so tough. I mean, live singing is tough too in a way, but you're not under the microscope in the same, in the same.
More forgiving.
Oh man, like, I mean, live, you sort of, no one's really listening. I don't know. You need to be good, but you can definitely be a little pitchy, and no one's going to care or even hear it. But in the studio with the headphones is different too. I think it messes up your intonation, I think. And so, do you do full takes? Like, how do you make the singer feel comfortable? Do you do like partial takes or?
Yeah. I am a huge fan of like chunks. So we'll do
Chunks.
the verse, the chorus, pre whatever. Sometimes we'll split that up.
Sure.
And then I have found that I love recording audio, or I love recording singers using in-ears. So like I've got these from UE, and these are custom molds, but I have like accumulated a couple pairs of like Shure, like the cheaper in-ears, and I will use
Okay.
those when recording.
No way.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like I've done a lot of recording over the years, but not too much professionally. And I've never even heard, I didn't even know people did that, to be honest. I always figured it was closed back.
Well,
headphone.
I've never seen anyone else do it either, but I just got tired of getting bleed out of headphones, and I was like, dude, this
Yeah.
sucks. And I mean,
Right.
especially if you've got like a click bleed,
Right.
it's just
Right.
brutal.
And then you're going to add like 40 dB of compression because it's a pop mix.
Yeah,
And then it's
right.
just, it can just be a mess. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. And so you do chunks just to kind of,
Yes.
it's just an easier target, really,
Easier,
essentially.
and you can focus more, and you can give more detailed feedback.
Gotcha.
Because if you're doing full takes, and the singer needs to remember, to where to take a breath, and how to intonate something, and
Sure.
where to smile, where to raise your eyebrows, whatever.
Right.
Like that's hard to do for a whole song.
No, I agree. I like to do chunks when I'm singing, so that's interesting to hear. And once the take's done, you've got your comp. I'm assuming because it's sort of modern style music. You're tuning or you're editing.
Yes.
What do you like? Do you auto tune?
Big auto-tune guy. I mean, I've got Melodyne too, but
Yep.
I like the sound of auto-tune.
And you don't use it in traditional auto tune mode. You
Oh, no.
you
Yes.
sort of do it manually. Yeah.
If the singer is really good, then I will leave the auto-tune on, just like on auto-tune for the background vocals.
Okay.
But for the lead, I will always hand tune.
Sure. It's just yeah. You avoid, unless you're going for that hardcore T-Pain thing. It's just so weird. It's so easy for it to sound glitchy.
Right.
Even on gentle settings, it's just better to do it.
Mhm.
Do it. So that's pretty cool. I'm not surprised to hear that you even great singers, no one can sing like pop songs sound these days. I mean,
Right.
like very few. I mean, when you watch, I watched that Lady Gaga movie, and her at a piano in a room just singing on camera, you're like, that sounds like the final take.
Right. I mean,
Like
yeah.
some people are kind of insane, although I wouldn't be surprised if even someone like that's getting edited. People like Taylor Swift, these excellent singers, are probably still being edited, for sure they are. So no shame there.
I've been gigging. I've gigged with like some fantastic singers, and they sound finished when they sing,
Sure.
but they're still getting tuned.
They're still getting touched up, and whatever, it's part of the genre. It's nothing wrong with it. Cool. No, that's great. So we've been through all the elements of the mix of Friends. Again, coming out in a week, which is exciting. I'm sure you're stoked for that. I think it's one of your best productions. I think. Yeah, it's certainly my favorite that you've offered at TOURNA-MIX, and and all of them have been good. I really liked Ghosts and Zombies. I really liked a lot of the poppy ones. I really dug. Stop Right Now is a good one.
That's a fun one.
That was a really good one.
A lot
But I
of
think,
tracks on that one.
yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, you always have lots of tracks.
I think this
Every
one was
session
actually pretty chill.
was chill at 70 tracks. Yeah, it was a chill session.
Yeah. There we go.
I love it. I love teasing you about your big track counts. I don't know why. Um,
Funny.
all right, so let's talk about referencing for a second. It's an important aspect of mixing and production. You got to know what you're going for, right? But it's also a very painful thing to do, and it can lead you astray. At least, I mean, maybe I'm speaking, you know, about myself here, but I find like when I reference, it can go either way for me. It can really help or it can kill me.
Right.
So, like, what do you reference during the production phase and mixing phase? How do you do it? Do you like it?
I reference the only time I reference in production is when I'm doing a style that I don't already listen to a lot.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like even with friends, I was like I didn't know how much, what is common, like what is a step accepted stylistically. So I listened to, I mean, of course, Crystal had some references for what she wanted the song to sound like. So I
That's
listened to
helpful.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But for mixing though, I actually have I think five or maybe six songs already in my template. So like
Right.
they're saved in the template so that they're there every time, and it's a couple Dua Lipa songs, a couple Steely Dan songs.
You really
Yeah.
went north south there with
Well,
Dua
dude,
Lipa to Steely Dan. I love it.
I was raised on Steely Dan, man.
I love
What can I
Steely
say?
Dan.
My dad is a boomer, so.
I'm a freaking boomer.
Dude, I love Steely Dan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Dua Lipa, Steely Dan. I've got a Green Day song. I've got a Christian song called Rattle from Elevation Worship, which is a fantastic live mix.
Okay.
Sounds unbelievably big. And then a Billie Eilish mix for
Yeah.
Therefore I Am, I believe it's called.
That's it. That's a good one.
That
I
makes
love the Dua Lipa stuff is just I don't think it gets better for pop right now. It's so good.
It doesn't.
I love that though. Steely Dan and Dua Lipa. Take note, folks. There you go. I mean, arguably those are two of the best.
Well, yeah. I mean, the low end difference is crazy on the two.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that older stuff is. I'm assuming you mean the older stuff like doesn't have it compared to the newer stuff.
it's a different kind of low end.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like it hits higher up.
it does. It doesn't have that.
It doesn't have like a full bottom, but like it's so wide.
Yeah,
Like naturally, like in mono, it sounds great. Whereas like, with a lot of the modern stuff, you lose a good chunk. But
older stuff always sounds good coming from across the room or in the grocery store. It sounds so good.
I was reading an interview and I forget who it was. Maybe it was Bill Schnee or Al Schmidt. It was one of the like old time giants, and they were talking about panning in a way that I'd never heard. And they said that they would pan not only in relation to the kick in the center vocal, you have the classic things, but they would pan according to the frequency spectrum.
Interesting.
And not like just panning low elements up and high elements to the side. They would each like chunk of the stereo side, they would fill frequency wise. So like if you have the vocal kick center, and then off to your left you have a rhythm guitar doing something up high, like a
Okay.
chugging kind of like chinky sound,
Yeah.
and then under that they would put like a Rhodes doing like low mid stuff. So like
Right.
each of the frequency is how they would do panning.
Oh,
And I was like,
man, I thought I had panning figured out.
dude, it was just genius, and it's like what LCR kind of.
Yep.
So like it would left, center, right, but then there's also like two mids is
Right.
where they would.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I find it interesting that you sort of just have these 5 songs, and like it's like once you know what good is in a variety of sort of genres and across time,
Right.
you don't necessarily need to continue switching it up all the time, unless, like you said, you're in a genre where you're unfamiliar with it and you need like a trap song or I don't know,
If I was
something.
if I'm mixing like a trap song or like a hip hop, I'll bring in a certain.
Something else.
And
Yeah.
I buy all the songs from a website called HD Tracks, so I can get like the 24 or like 30
Oh, neat.
loading.
Okay, I have to remember that. I just buy them off Apple or whatever.
Well, I mean, I think now it's the same, but I can never tell if like the download is the same. I don't
Okay.
know.
You want to make sure it's the
Tax
real.
write off, so I just bought it. Yeah.
Gotcha. I know that's cool. I like I said, I find referencing can go many different ways. I think it's important. Don't get me wrong, but you have to have a strategy for it. I think you got to
Oh,
know what you're looking for because it can get really dicey really quick. I mean, compare anything to Dua Lipa in the wrong headspace, and you'll just want to quit.
yeah,
Like,
right.
but it can also help you. All right, let's talk about one more thing here before we wrap up that I think is super interesting, and a lot of people are confused, and that's just for like how to get clients. Now, it's a tough question, and it's going to be maybe a little different depending, I don't know, where you live in the world or what you're, I don't know, how whether you're a musician that's connected to the scene or not, etc. But you seem super busy. You're always sending me songs, which is awesome. How do you get clients? Do you do anything, or do you just sort of have word of mouth, or
Yeah, it's a combination of like people I know, and just being in the right place at the right time.
yeah,
Um, so I met, some musicians in college that were friends. I did their stuff. I that stuff sounded pretty good. Other people that I didn't know heard that, and they'd come to me,
sure.
and just, yeah, kind of like a word of mouth. But
Yeah,
the second aspect of that is, I like am a gigging drummer, so
you're a gigging drummer,
I
right?
play a lot in churches, from LA to San Diego, and the church scene has got to be one of the most effective breeding grounds for like good musicianship.
Mm.
People who like know how to produce and like orchestrate songs. People
Right.
know how to do it live, and there's just musicians. They're always doing things. Like, everyone knows something. The world
And
is way smaller than I ever thought it was.
right.
Yeah.
Well, what's so interesting about that answer is that people who I get this question actually quite a bit through TOURNA-MIX members, people wanting to know like, hey, how do I get mixing work? And it's so funny because what you just said is, okay, so I went to music school,
Yes.
which is a big commitment, not something everyone does. So I went to music school and was surrounded by musicians, and I gig like 3 times a week or whatever you do all over the friggin', state. And it's like, oh, so there you go. You're constantly immersed in music, and lo and behold, you've got lots of work.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you weren't good at what you were doing, you wouldn't get very far. But so you need a certain level of skill. That
Right.
goes without saying. But basically, you're just immersed in music.
Yes.
Simple.
I mean that's it. I know musicians.
Yeah. You don't
Yeah.
have to. You don't do Facebook ads, and you don't like have to do that kind of stuff.
I mean, I've got a website, but I've never
Sure.
gotten anything from it. It's more just for looks. I should also mention I have a manager as well. She's wonderful, but
Okay.
I've gotten maybe two or three
Sure.
clients through her. So almost 90% of it is word of mouth and meeting
Yeah.
people.
And that's always the best way. So
Oh,
I think that's a really interesting thing because I think people are looking for a magic, bullet or magic pill or whatever for
yeah.
magic bullet. Did I get that totally wrong?
I mean, I was
Magic.
trying to kill someone.
I don't even know what the expression is, but you know what I mean. People
Yeah.
want that quick fix, and
Yeah.
I think with the internet these days, that's a problem in all areas of audio. Is we want quick fixes, but when you talk to people who are super good at things, it's like, oh, I've been doing this 25 years. Oh, okay. Like one of our best mixers. In fact, I'd say two of our best mixers at TOURNA-MIX. Like these guys, one of them has been doing it for 25 years, and he's got a gorgeous mix room, and he's literally like, I mean, it's crazy, right? 25 years, you're going to be good at it. The
Yeah.
other guy, well, RJR is his code name. I just found out he's been doing it 15 years. Well, there you go. Like you're
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like that's why it was funny when you said that you prefer this is your favorite mix in production. It's like, well, it's the most recent one I've done.
there
So
you
like
go.
every almost I my mix template changes every couple mixes,
Sure, sure.
small ways, but incorporate different things and
Yeah, you're getting better. You're literally, and I've watched you, and I don't say this from any type of high ground. I just mean I've watched you mix your mixing improve literally since the year that I've known you.
yeah,
Like I'd say quite dramatically, in fact.
thanks.
So and maybe it's because your productions are getting better too. Like I don't,
A lot of it has to probably that. A lot of it has to do with the church mixes and COVID specifically.
right.
I mean, I must have done 150, 200 mixes throughout the span of COVID or COVID.
Right. We had another glitch there, but I think Michael was saying that he'd done like 200 mixes over the course of COVID. So when people who are really new to mixing started asking like, hey, how can I get good at mixing? What I literally say now is
Do the thing.
do 500 mixes, do 500 mixes, and then do 500 more. Like if you follow the 10,000 hours principle, let's say 10 hours a mix, which would be a long mix, but
Good
you need to
Lord.
do, you need to do 1,000 mixes, right? Like this stuff. And for most of us, especially amateurs, like you know, you're doing maybe 1 or 2 mixes a month. Like it would take you 50 years to get.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's just, it's time. Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the old sessions are on TOURNA-MIX, right?
Yep. Yep.
I just do those.
Absolutely.
Some
Yeah.
on
If you,
Reddit, like they're everywhere.
yeah, we have, I don't know, 30 or 40 songs now. I don't even know how many, but there's quite a few. So if you're
I've
joining
I
TOURNA-MIX,
found like bootlegged sessions on Reddit from like I've got a Dua Lipa session, I've got a couple other
yeah,
like, you know, and it's just the stems. It's not
yeah,
the actual. It's like before mixing. So
right.
like find those and just
Find those. Yeah.
try to mix the song.
Yeah, I just
Like
do it a
Josh
lot.
did.
So we're getting more and more glitches here with the internet, but we have decided that basically you just need to do the thing.
Do the thing.
Do the thing, you know, be in the scene, have fun. You got to have fun. I sometimes people complain to me about, you know, I'm frustrated. It's funny. I've never really been frustrated with audio. Like it doesn't mean that I haven't sucked, right? I've definitely sucked, but I just, I don't know. I always enjoyed it. So I think it's important to stay in that headspace. That'd be my 2 cents.
Yeah.
You always seem to be having fun with it. I'm
I
sure
mean, I
it's,
get frustrated with my laptop overheating or like
or the internet glitching out
or
on us.
the internet or like with the technical aspects or like, you know, being frustrated not know how to change something, but no, the music is fun, and the fact that we can do this for a living is mind-boggling.
I agree with you, man. It's so amazing. So, yeah, man, I think we'll wrap it up there. Just because I know people have short attention spans these days, and you know they're busy.
Self-included,
But
yes.
yeah. But hey, look, thanks a lot for doing this. Yeah, we've been like texting for like a year now. Kind of one of those weird relationships where you're just texting for a year,
Yeah,
and it's great to
no, everyone's got those.
yeah, but it's weird. That's I mean, I knew we're gonna get along, but it's great to meet you in this capacity. And thanks for taking the time.
Of course, man.
And thanks for being active on the Facebook group. You know,
I love the Facebook group.
yeah,
Love
me
it.
too. It's growing every day. I hope to have more time for it soon. But yeah, man, thanks so much. I hope the TM crew enjoyed watching this. And you know, if you're just out there on YouTube watching this, and you don't know what TOURNA-MIX is, yeah, check us out. We, like I said, 2 mix contests every month. Get to mix some of this guy's songs, and
Put the link in the description.
yeah, link. Do that
There
whole
you
thing.
go. You did the thing.
I'm finally, I'm a real YouTuber now. So yeah, man, we'll talk soon, and peace.